You know, the Street Profits, they talk about how they want the smoke. Well, we don't. But the smoke is what we have here in New York. Really up and down the East Coast, pretty much. Thanks to the 100+ wildfires that are raging out of control right now in Quebec. With our neighbors up north. Smells like a fucking cigar lounge in here. The skies were literally orange. When I tell you, the skies here in New York today were literally orange. It looked like post-apocalyptic stuff outside. So wherever you may be, stay safe. If you are anywhere in the smog zone, because the air outside is terrible. Let's clear this out here. Here we go, finally. Let's clear that out. Tonight, on Dynamite, we learn what the main event is going to be for the very first episode of AEW Collision, which is only a couple of weeks away. Collision is coming up on Saturday the 17th from the United Center in Chicago. And Tony Khan was on television tonight to tell us what that main event is going to be, which I will be letting you know a little bit later on. I will tell you, though, and it should come as no surprise, that CM Punk will be featured in the main event. Of course, we already knew he was coming back that night. They're in Chicago. Would have made sense to have CM Punk in a match on the show. CM Punk will be a part of that Collision main event. It will, however, not be a singles match. It will be a multi-man match. And I will tell you what that match is here on this review. Plus, the main event tonight was Ricky Starks one-on-one with Switchblade Jay White. How about Jay White getting the main event spot here on Dynamite, I believe for the first time. They had a match tonight where the team of FTR and Juice Robinson, all of them were banned from ringside. This was going to be a fair fight one-on-one, only you had to know was not going to be a fair fight. You knew there was going to be some kind of shenanigans, and there was. And honestly, it was a very underwhelming finish when we had the Guns coming out to cost Ricky Starks the match and hand Jay White the win on a silver platter. It's just the way that it was executed, I thought, very underwhelming. And the question now lingers, are Austin and Colton Gunn now the new members of Bullet Club Gold? We don't know. We're still left wondering exactly what their affiliation with Bullet Club may or may not be. But MJF and Adam Cole, let's talk about them briefly here, because the AEW World Champion was on the show tonight, coming out and telling us that there was no competition left in this company. And the way that he was phrasing it made me think that they were about to announce a New Japan star, or a New Japan star was about to walk out to confront him, because he was very specific about there being no competition left in this company. And of course, we have Forbidden Door coming up in a few weeks. But it was not a New Japan star that came out. It was Adam Cole, who just wrapped up, maybe, wrapped up a feud with Chris Jericho. He came out to confront MJF, and what followed was a lot of back and forth that if you were in an argument with somebody on Twitter, which I would know a thing about, if you were in an argument with someone on Twitter, this is the type of thing that you would expect to hear back and forth as far as the zingers and the insults that we got here in this promo segment. There were parts of this segment that I liked. There were parts of this segment I did not like. But we are now heading towards an MJF Adam Cole match on Dynamite next week. It will not be for the championship. It is effectively, it's one of their qualifying matches that they have. It's a world title eliminator match. But the build has already begun to a championship match between MJF and Adam Cole. A few months earlier than I expected it to happen. But it is going to happen. And I mentioned Forbidden Door. Forbidden Door is coming up on June 25th. They are just about, if they're not already sold out, they have like 100 seats left, last time I checked. So basically, they are sold out already in Toronto for the second Forbidden Door show. And there were a few matches on the show last year that we did not get, but the match that I was most disappointed in that we didn't get was Bryan Danielson, who was supposed to wrestle Zack Sabre Jr. And then Danielson got hurt with a concussion. He wasn't cleared, so the match never happened. So not only was Bryan Danielson missing from Forbidden Door last year, but Kenny Omega was missing as well, because he was still out recovering from all the many surgeries that he had. He didn't come back until August. That's two very big names that missed the show last year. 3, if you throw in CM Punk, who did a stage dive into the crowd and broke his foot, and that took him out for the entire summer. 3 big names missing from the show last year. And Tony Khan said, you know what? We have to fix that. Because we already know 2 of the matches for Forbidden Door. And honestly, they don't have to announce another one. If they just kept it to these 2 matches, it would be worth the price of the show alone. Because we are going to get Kenny Omega challenging Will Ospreay, defending his IWGP United States Championship against Will Ospreay. Since Ospreay beat Lance Archer at Dominion to become #1 contender, we are getting a rematch of one of the best matches that we have seen all year from Wrestle Kingdom in January. That was at the Tokyo Dome. This will be at the Scotiabank Arena in Toronto, with what I am sure is going to be a very rabid wrestling audience. That is going to be an excellent match. But the match that I am looking forward to the most is a match that I've been talking about this match for a number of years. Really ever since Danielson walked out of WWE and walked into AEW. This is a match that I have wanted to see ever since it became possible for this match to happen. I was disappointed that we didn't get it last year. And I wasn't sure when we were going to get it, to be perfectly honest with you, or if it was going to even happen in this country, if it was going to happen in Japan. But now we know the stage is set at Forbidden Door for the first time ever. It will be the American Dragon Bryan Danielson going one-on-one with Kazuchika Okada for the first time ever. And that right there is the match that I am most looking forward to on that show. That may end up being the match of the year by the time all is said and done. You don't have to give me any kind of convoluted story. The story is very simple. They told the story tonight in a video package that they aired. They had 2 video packages for both of these matches, lest anybody turn around and say there's no story. Clearly, Omega and Ospreay, they have a story, because Omega beat Ospreay. Ospreay was embarrassed by that loss. Now he wants to get his belt back and get revenge on Kenny Omega. There's your story. For Danielson and Okada, it's very simple. As Danielson said in the video, I've heard a lot about you. People have talked about you for many years. They've even called you the best. He considers himself the best wrestler in the world. There's only one way to find out. The time for talk is over. Now we get the match. One-on-one, we get to find out who truly is the best. That's the story. At its core, that is the story. That's all the story we need. So I am very much looking forward to that pay-per-view. That is a must-see show at the end of this month. And this is your AEW Dynamite review for Wednesday, June 7th, 2023. I am the Solomonster. I want to wish a very happy birthday to Cherubin, who turned 27 years old today. So I hope you had a great birthday, brother. Like and subscribe. Hit that subscribe button and smash the thumbs up button. We're looking for at least 350 likes tonight to do Be the Booker later on in the stream. That is the minimum goal. Super chats are open. I've added a couple of new ones. You know about the Punk one. That was popping up all over the place on Monday and then last week. But there's also a brand new $35 Batista Skinny Jeans super chat that's in there as well. So I reworked some of them. You can check the list out in the description down below. Also, channel memberships are open. We have picked up a shit ton of new channel members. And a lot of it thanks to our boy Silver Tower. But you can become a channel member right now. Of course, you can also gift channel memberships to people. I did notice a few minutes ago that we had Dr. Scorpio and the Mount Vernon Kid, both gifting 5 memberships each for a total of 10. And we have not even started the review yet. So, gentlemen, I thank you very much. Brand new Sound Off Gamer is up. Don't forget to check that out. It is now up for everyone. Episode 8 of Sound Off Gamer. Look how happy I am in that thumbnail. Can't you tell how happy? You can pretty much get a sense of exactly what goes on there in that episode. So go ahead and check that out. At the beginning of the video, you saw that I mentioned, you saw the graphic, unfortunately, for the death of the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik passed away earlier today, I believe at the age of 81. And what can be said about the Iron Sheik? Obviously, I'll have a lot more to say about him on the podcast this Sunday. We'll talk about the Sheik and his career and his influence. But it's a big loss. He was a major name in the wrestling business at a time when Vince McMahon was taking his company national. I mean, obviously, he had worked other territories prior to that, but he came along in WWF at a time when, you know, you had the evil Iranian, and you had the evil Russians, and I mean the NWA and Crockett had the same thing with Nikita Koloff, and that's just the way it was back then, right? It was very easy heat to have the evil villain foreigner up against the heroic American babyface. So the Iron Sheik wins the championship from the All-American Bob Backlund, and then immediately turns around and drops it to the All-American hero, Hulk Hogan. And Hulkamania on a national scale was off to the races thanks to that loss to the Iron Sheik. The Iron Sheik did the job for Hulk Hogan in Madison Square Garden. And as he tells the story, hey, if Verne Gagne had his way, if you believe the story he tells, he could have broken Hogan's leg in the ring that night. And that would have been the end of his career. Not Hogan, but Sheik. But yeah, part of a lot of very memorable moments for me as a young wrestling fan. I grew up, I had the Iron Sheik LJN figure. I believe he had an LJN. And, you know, again, part of that whole rock and wrestling era. And then later on, somehow he became this pop culture figure. And he was on the Howard Stern show. And I think there were multiple roasts for the Iron Sheik. And he had his gimmick on Twitter. And I hate to break the news to you, I can't believe there are still people who think that he was the one doing the tweeting. He wasn't. But he became a pretty well-known figure in pop culture as well. So rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. Gone, but certainly not forgotten. Made for a lot of very entertaining memories. We opened Dynamite tonight with Orange Cassidy. Of course, as we've opened Dynamite many times this year with Orange Cassidy, defending his AEW International Championship against Swerve Strickland. This was a hot opener with a questionable finish. Cassidy got a 2 count off a top rope crossbody until both men fought up on the ropes. And they each slammed the other headfirst down into the turnbuckle. They took a tumble to the floor. That took us into the first commercial break. And we also got our first commercial for Collision, and they are, in fact, billing it as the second coming of CM Punk. I talked about this a few weeks ago. I think it was Andrew Zarian, maybe, it might have been Andrew or Fightful, who first broke that they were billing this debut episode of Collision as the second coming, right? Because the first appearance of CM Punk was on Rampage 2 years ago. It was the first dance. So this is the second coming. So there's your confirmation of that promotion for the show. Strickland gained the advantage during the picture-in-picture. Cassidy battled out of a JML driver attempt. Tried for beach break, but his back seized up on him. He did manage to hit a Stun Dog Millionaire. Swerve later on planted Cassidy with a Death Valley driver on the apron. He went for a double stomp that was not successful. Cassidy came back with a diving DDT from the apron to the floor. You know, I know Jake Roberts works for AEW. Now, I know we don't see him on television anymore. I think he is still with Lance Archer, technically. So I don't know if Jake was at the building tonight or not, but he works for AEW. He should be there in the back. And I wonder, and I see stuff like this, and a lot of it happens in Orange Cassidy matches, but it's not just him. It's not even just AEW. We see it in WWE also, but we see it a lot in AEW. The overuse of the DDT. And the DDT hasn't been a finisher for a very long time, but the overuse and overuse and overuse of the DDT until it has basically been rendered completely meaningless. And Jake the Snake is the innovator, right? The master of the DDT, of all people. They have him backstage working for the company. What must he think when he is watching these matches and he is seeing the DDT used in this fashion? I wonder. He spoke his mind openly. I wonder what he would say. I wonder what he thinks. Because you thought the super kick was rendered useless. You thought that the destroyer was rendered useless. The DDT says, hold my beer. Orange Cassidy did not win with a DDT in this match. He did counter a pop-up powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana pin, but he could not hook Strickland's leg because of his bad hand. So he had the bad hand, he had the bad back. Again, this man is falling apart. He's been falling apart for months now, but yet he still finds a way to win. So Prince Nana, because remember, Swerve is part now of the Mogul Embassy. The Embassy and Mogul affiliates, they merged a few months ago. So Prince Nana was ringside in Swerve's corner. And he tries to run distraction here. Strickland collided with him, though. Turned around into an orange punch and a beach break. But Strickland kicked out. And at that point, when he kicked out of that, I thought, okay, he's got a real shot here. Maybe tonight they're going to finally pull the trigger and they're going to put this title on Swerve. So he bailed out to the floor. Cassidy tried another DDT dive, of course. Strickland, though, caught him, and he delivered a brainbuster on the floor. Back in the ring, Strickland hit the house call kick and then the Swerve stomp, and Cassidy kicked out, and Swerve couldn't believe it. He could not believe that this man kicked out of his finish. Neither could I. Cassidy rolled through a JML driver attempt, and then both men at that point traded roll-up attempts. Swerve tried, well, he didn't try. I mean, he hooked the tights to try, or the jeans, I guess, to try to get the win. Was not successful, but then Orange Cassidy gave it right back to him. He hooked the tights, and this time he was successful. And Orange Cassidy wins with a roll-up and a fistful of tights. At that point, the Mogul affiliates, they came down to the ring. They beat down Orange Cassidy. The lights went out. Tony Khan didn't pay his light bill again. 15 seconds later, the lights come back on. The heels have bailed. Sting and his jacket, and Darby Allin getting ready for his big mountain climb. They were in the ring with Orange Cassidy. They had chased the heels away, and that's how this ended. So 24 title defenses for Orange Cassidy and 24 victories. This fucker is still the international champion by hook or crook. He keeps finding a way to win. It was a very good match, but I'm not sure about having Orange Cassidy eliminate Swerve from the Blackjack Battle Royal and then turning around and doing a singles match and having Orange Cassidy beat Swerve Strickland again. That's twice now. That's twice that Swerve has been embarrassed and has lost to Orange Cassidy. Now, Swerve could still end up winning the international title. But again, I look at this and I say, Cassidy won the Battle Royal. He beat 20 other men, including Swerve. Then he got Swerve one-on-one, and he beat him at his own game. What need is there to run this match back again? I enjoyed the match. I'd love to see them wrestle again. I'm just wondering why they would do it. What's the purpose? Orange Cassidy is a fighting champion, right? So if they went to him and said, look, Swerve wants one more match, what's he going to say? No? He says yes to anything. If I showed up at the building next week in D.C. and I said I want a title match, he'd probably go, okay, sure. Of course he would. He would think he was looking in the mirror. So, yeah, I mean, you could just argue it by saying he's a fighting champion. They could do a rematch if they want. Is there really a need for it now? Not really. Forbidden Door is coming up in Toronto, though. Forbidden Door is coming up in Toronto. And Orange Cassidy won the International Championship by beating Pac last year in Toronto. So I'm wondering if they've been waiting for this day. And the plan maybe is to take the title from him in the very city that he wanted in the first place. Maybe they will finally do the title change in Toronto. Maybe they'll run back him and Swerve. Maybe it'll be him against somebody completely different. Maybe it'll be him against somebody from New Japan. But it does make me wonder if maybe they're waiting for Toronto. He won it there. Maybe he'll lose it there too. What they are doing is next week on Dynamite, they're doing a big 8-man tag. It's going to be Sting wrestling on TV for the first time in, I don't know how long. It's been at least a few months. Sting, Darby Allin, Orange Cassidy, and Keith Lee, who we did not see tonight, but he'll be teaming with them against the Mogul Embassy, and that'll be next Wednesday on Dynamite. We had the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, who Excalibur is now referring to on commentary as the greatest wrestler of all time, made his way out to do commentary for the next match, and at that point they cut to a hype package for the match at Forbidden Door, which again is Danielson one-on-one against Okada, to give people the backstory about how this match came about, why this match is such a big deal. Obviously Okada's not there. And with Okada not being there, and they mentioned this on commentary, so let me just get to this. The match was the Blackpool Combat Club. It was Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta taking on Chaos, Trent Beretta, Chuck Taylor, and Rocky Romero. Chaos, as they explained, is Okada's faction. It's a faction that Okada has been a part of for a very long time. If he's not going to be on the show, and maybe he will be, maybe on that last Dynamite before Forbidden Door, he'll be on the show. Obviously, it's tough with the time zone difference. You're not going to go back and forth from Japan. So he may not be on Dynamite at all. If he is, it probably won't be until that final Dynamite before the pay-per-view. But if he's not going to be physically there, then it made sense that his crew would be in action against the Blackpool Combat Club. So that made sense. And you would have the Blackpool Combat Club beat Chaos. Beretta blocked a gotch pile driver late in the match from Moxley. Best Friends connected with Strong Zero to Moxley for a close 2 count. I think it was Claudio who broke up the fall. Romero sank in a cross arm breaker as Beretta tried a moonsault to the floor. This right here was the spot of the night right here. This was the spot of the show. We had Beretta on the ropes doing a moonsault out to the floor. Claudio was on the floor. As he is flipping in midair in this moonsault, Claudio could not have timed this any better. As he's flipping over, he connected with a European uppercut. He uppercutted the shit out of this man. Beautiful. Beautiful timing. So that took out Trent. He was down on the outside. Inside, Yuta hit Chuck Taylor with a Busaiku knee. Moxley, at the same time, countered the arm breaker from Rocky into a bulldog choke, and he got the win. After the match, Yuta went on the attack against Taylor, and this pleased Bryan Danielson. Bryan Danielson was very pleased at the violent nature of Wheeler Yuta. They are teaching young Yuta well. We cut to the back, and we have Hangman Page and the Young Bucks, or as Excalibur called them, the Hung Bucks. I will not be calling them that. Page said that Dynamite is in Washington, D.C. next week, where Dynamite first began, the very first Dynamite. What did that show do? That was October of 2019. I think that first show did, was it 1.3 or 1.4 million viewers for that first show? It was back in 2019. That was in Washington, D.C. So they're going to be back where it all began next week. And he challenged Moxley, Claudio, and Yuta to face him and the Young Bucks without any help from Bryan Danielson, without any help from Konosuke Takeshita. They cut back to the announce desk. Danielson was still sitting there. He heard this entire thing. And Danielson said that the Blackpool Combat Club has never backed down from a challenge, and so he accepted the match on their behalf. After this, we got a video package about the Will Ospreay Kenny Omega match at Forbidden Door, highlighting their match from Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year. Ospreay talking about how he wants revenge on Omega for what Omega put him through. Again, he just beat Lance Archer last weekend, this past Sunday, in fact, at Dominion to become #1 contender. And that is the other big match that is official for Forbidden Door for the IWGP US title. Up next was the AEW World Heavyweight Champion, MJF, out to the ring for a promo. What a promo it was. He came to the ring. They were in Colorado. And he told the Colorado drug addicts to keep their mouths shut. He said that he nearly offed himself when he was told that he was contractually obligated to come to Colorado. He called it the most boring place in the entire world. But if anybody knows about being bored, it's him. Because there is no competition for him in this company, because nobody, he said, is on the level of the devil.
It's the amazing Goonthar.
I was going to say, in Colorado, they got the devil's lettuce now.
Loves Goonthar,
up there, down.
All hail Goonthar.
That's what they used to call it, the devil's lettuce. Hey, Bobby's World chiming in with a $50 Goonthar super chat. And it is Bobby's birthday today. Bobby is 44 years old today. So there you go. Says, rest in peace to the Sheik, of course. Much love to Fire Panda. And I am giving Solo money on my birthday because he is the best and he deserves it. And shout out to the GWO and hit that like button. That's very kind of you. I mean, this man is celebrating his birthday and he is donating here to the channel. That right there says a lot about Bobby's World. So Bobby, I hope you have a great birthday. I hope you had a great birthday. However you celebrate it, I hope it was a great day for you. And it's good to have you hanging out with us here tonight on the channel. It's a good way to wind down your birthday. So again, nobody is on the level of the devil, says MJF. Well, this is where I was expecting there to be maybe someone again from New Japan because he's looking elsewhere. Maybe there's somebody from another company who could show up. But it was not somebody from New Japan. It was Adam Cole who came out, and he came down to the ring. MJF cut off Cole's music before he could do his Adam Cole Bebe pose, and the crowd booed. So MJF said that he's actually excited. like legitimately excited. He says, finally, some worthy competition for the champion. He said, believe it or not, he's a big fan of Adam Cole's. He says, when CM Punk up and left him when he was a kid, he thought his wrestling fandom was over. But then he was flipping the channels one day and he came across a show called Ring of Honor. And he asked the crowd, yeah, do you all know what Ring of Honor is? Right? And I was expecting the crowd to go, no. He goes, you know what Ring of Honor is, right? And MJF says he thought Ring of Honor sucked. He says it was full of a bunch of indie jabronis who didn't belong on his TV. But then out walked a guy with icy blue eyes and slicked back black hair, and he was a great promo guy and a great wrestler. And he goes, that man was Adam Cole. And he said that he was instantly hooked. He even watched Cole win gold in CZW. He watched him become the hottest free agent in the world. And then he watched him go to Florida to shock the system. He was so good, he became Shawn Michaels' handpicked star. And he became the greatest champion in that company, or that company had ever seen. NXT is not a company. Obviously, best champion on the NXT brand. You could certainly make the argument that Adam Cole was the greatest NXT champion. NXT had a lot of great champions. They had Adam Cole, they had Finn Balor, among others. Adrian Neville. We could go on. Possibly soon, Baron Corbin. But he said he followed in his footsteps, did MJF. He said that he too went to CZW and he worked the independents before ending up in AEW, as he knew Cole would one day. So they could have the battle of the generational talents. MJF one-on-one with Adam Cole. But then this guy showed up, and he's pointing to Cole when he says this. He goes, this guy shows up here in AEW. He asked Cole, what happened to him? Right? What happened? What happened to that guy? Cole used to be the Panama Playboy. Now he's the Panama. What did he call him? I said, I wrote Panama Playboy twice, but he didn't say Playboy twice. He used to be the Panama Playboy, and now he called him another name. I didn't write it down, but he said he sits at home playing video games on Twitch like a pale virgin. That I got. He asked Cole, didn't you used to have the physique of a world champion? He said, now, no offense, you're so frail you make crack whores jealous. He sees what people are saying online, that the company just isn't featuring Adam Cole the right... By the way, who's saying that? Like, people are saying that... Oh, Game Boy, thank you, that's what it was. He used to be the Panama Playboy, now he's the Panama Game Boy. That's what he said. Thank you. But I was just wondering, like, he's saying, like, oh, I see what the comments that people are making online about Cole and how the company doesn't use him right. Really? I don't see too many people complaining about the booking of Adam Cole. I see them complaining rightly about the booking of other people on this show. Adam Cole is not somebody that I think people are complaining to, especially coming off 2 wins over Chris Jericho. I don't think they're complaining too loudly about that. But I guess it had to fit the promo here. But he says he sees what people are saying online about him, and says the fans have no idea what they're talking about. This company has given him everything. He got the girl. He even got his own reality show. He goes, you know what they do to make MJF look cool? They ring the damn bell. Greatest dog collar match of all time, he says. Greatest Iron Man match of all time. Greatest 4-way match of all time. The AEW World Heavyweight Champion. He's beaten every single top guy. What makes Adam Cole think that he is going to be any different? He says that he read a nasty rumor about Cole online, that the reason that he made the jump to AEW is because a certain someone in Titan Tower, here we go, a certain someone in Titan Tower didn't think that he had top guy potential, and that someone was Vince McMahon. And you know what that means. Usually we don't do this on the AEW streams, but I guess we have to. Vince Watch. Not only was Vince McMahon backstage at Raw this week, but now he gets a shout out on AEW Dynamite. We can't get away from this fucking guy. Vincenzo is everywhere. We got a Vince McMahon name drop here on Dynamite. And MJF said that he thought, oh man, you know, the old man has finally lost it. How could he not see talent in Adam Cole? But now that he stands in front of him, he realizes that Vince was right. Cole finally reacted to this. How nice, by the way, of Adam Cole to just stand there and just let this man just fucking eviscerate him on the microphone. Very kind of him. Adam Cole is a very nice man. So after this burial, Adam Cole finally spoke. And he compared MJF to a social media troll. He mocked MJF for his fiance leaving him, right? Which we've already heard other people insult him for that. That was hardly a big burn. He said MJF is world class. He's a world class douchebag. Cole said that he brings up my body because of my body of work. That's why he mentions my body. The matches that I've had, the world title reigns I've had. He goes, Max, get real. You can't touch me. But if you really want to go down that road, how about we both go backstage? We piss in a couple of cups and we see who's natural and who's not. So, I was going to say more than implying that MJF is on performance-enhancing drugs here. He goes, for 15 years, he's traveled the world, and those boys and girls back there, they respect him. He says they respect the human being, Adam Cole. And then he swore, he goes, I swear on my life, he says, there's not a single person backstage in that dressing room that has respect for you. Not one. He says, you're conceited, you're lazy, and you do the bare minimum to keep that world title. I speak for everyone when I say, no one respects you. MJF then said that that's a lot of tough talk coming from Keith Lee's manager. Cole said that if he was a real champion, he would tell him to shut his mouth and fight him, but he's not going to do that because he's a coward. Cole said that MJF won't fight him because he's better than him, and they being the fans, know it. And that pissed MJF off, and he exploded at him. He screamed at Cole. He said that he would wrestle him any day of the week, and he would beat his ass. Cole said, looks like we got ourselves a match. And then he ended with his Adam Cole Bebe pose that MJF had cut off earlier, so the fans finally got to chant it, so they were happy. So MJF, he walked right into that. Cole baited him, and he took the bait. I'm surprised, I will say, that Adam Cole had enough oxygen left in his lungs to even respond with how deep underground he was buried during this promo. I could have done without hearing the name Vince McMahon on this show. Everybody jokes about how often we would hear about WWE and references to WWE on this show. I don't want to hear Vince McMahon's name mentioned at all anymore, let alone on this fucking show. So I could do without that. What did I think of this segment? I thought that they each had some good zing. Oh, more so MJF. MJF fucking buried this guy in the mic. Like, Adam Cole came back. He had a few little, zingers there. MJF fucking buried him 6 feet under here during this segment. At the Double or Nothing scrum, here's my issue with this. At the Double or Nothing scrum, I don't know how many of you saw the comments that MJF made. And he's in character a lot. He keeps kayfabe. But there was one part in the scrum, and he said, like, I swear to God, I'm being totally honest. And I think he was. I think he was being serious when he said this. That they've done research. He said that 7% of the AEW audience, 7%, I believe was the figure he gave, is active on Twitter. And the point he was trying to make is that people go on social media and they go on Twitter and they make comments about what they like and what they hate and this sucks and the blah, 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 blah. And it's like an echo chamber. 7% of their audience are actually active and engage other accounts and whatever on Twitter, which sounds like a very low number. And I believe that's a real stat that he's referencing. There are a lot of people on Twitter. I mean, we have it in the live chat right now. There's a lot of people who would agree with everything that MJF said in this promo about Adam Cole. That Adam Cole does not look like a world champion. That MJF, has a better physique than him. He looks the part. Adam Cole doesn't look like a world champion. He's scrawny. He's pale. He's got no muscle tone whatsoever. All of that is true. Adam Cole is a great athlete because Adam Cole, I've seen him go in there before and have some of the best matches you'll ever see. Some people might disagree. Some people just maybe they don't like Adam Cole. But the Adam Cole that I saw, even pre-WWE when he was in Ring of Honor, but the Adam Cole that I saw in NXT, when he was in the ring with people like Johnny Gargano, when he was in the ring with people like Keith Lee, even the match he had with Pat McAfee, I think that was Pat McAfee's first match in WWE, Adam Cole had a lot of very memorable, incredible matches on the NXT brand. And even there, he was never physically the biggest guy that they had on that roster. So he is a tremendous athlete, but does he look like your prototypical wrestling world champion? He doesn't. He's very small. It is very noticeable. Now, me personally, I can still watch Adam Cole in the ring doing his thing, and depending on who he's in the ring with, I can suspend my disbelief. That doesn't bother me too much, and I can watch him and say, man, that was a great fucking match. I don't come on here and insult him and mock him and all this stuff, because to me, he's paid his dues. He's proven how talented he is. But you will see these comments. These are very real comments that people are making. You see a lot of it on Twitter. If Twitter is 7%, if that's true, if Twitter is 7% of the AEW audience, that you have these people going online and making these comments about Adam Cole, why would you amplify that on television? Because on television, your announcers are talking about him when he goes out there like he's a big star. When Adam Cole goes out there, he's treated by the AEW crowds like he's a big star. And they love to do his pose and do the Adam Cole baby. And to them, he's a big star. So then what I don't understand is, why are you taking what those 7% on Twitter are talking about and saying about this guy, and again, put that out there on television and make that a talking point going into this match? I can understand MJF is the heel. And so the heel is putting down the babyface, and the babyface is going to put him in his place. Everything he said about Cole, there was a lot of truth to it. It's not as if next week on Dynamite when they wrestle, all of a sudden Adam Cole is going to show up and he's going to show him. He's going to look like the Incredible Hulk. No, he's still going to be the scrawny guy with no muscle tone going out there. But now you've put that in people's heads, and I just don't know how smart that is, because it's been a very big talking point about him for a long time. And that's how you're going to build this guy up for a world championship match, by acknowledging this on television and saying, hey, this guy doesn't look like a world champion. I don't know about that. That's not the way that I would have gone with it. I would not give that attention to the 7% on television. People are going to say, they're going to chatter, they're going to say what they want. Making that one of the core talking points, though, going into their program, their match, that's not something I would do. So that I'm again I question that. I question the wisdom in doing that, because there is a lot of truth. The truth hurts, and sometimes it's better to sort of ignore it and not focus on it. But they're going right to it. I didn't think they were going to go to Cole and MJF this quickly. I thought they were going to wait and they were going to save this for All Out. But this is why he had to beat Chris Jericho. He beat Chris Jericho at Double or Nothing. He beat him again in the mixed tag match last week. This is why, because they were getting him primed and ready to challenge for the World Championship and to work with MJF. Now, they're going to have a match on Dynamite next week. It's not going to be for the AEW World title. It's an eliminator match. So Adam Cole has to first beat MJF in a non-title match, and then he would get a championship match. And this is something that AEW has done many times before with this eliminator stuff. The question now is, do they give Cole a win before he ultimately loses to MJF? I presume at Forbidden Door, right, if it works out that way. Because I don't see Adam Cole winning the world title from MJF. So do you let him go over in the non-title match and then beat him at the pay-per-view? Or do you kind of swerve everybody? Because I think most people would expect him to win next week. Do you swerve people and have Cole lose to MJF next week with the idea that now he has to go to the back of the line? And you make him fight for it for another couple of months, and you do the match either at Wembley or you do the match at All Out. To me, I don't know that that's the biggest championship match they could muster for Wembley Stadium. I think they could do better. There's a lot of other people on the roster that they could start priming for MJF. The Adam Cole match is one that if I had the choice, I would, rather save that for a show other than Wembley. But is that what they're planning on doing? If that is what they are planning on doing, is having him lose and then have to fight his way back to get a shot in 2 or 3 months, that makes me think that maybe he's not done with Chris Jericho, because I could see Jericho costing Adam Cole the match next week. If MJF is going to win, how does he win? He cheats, right? So instead of just having him hit him with the diamond ring, hit him with a low blow, Chris Jericho just lost twice. He was embarrassed by this man. I could easily see Jericho getting involved, and that could potentially lead to another match between Jericho and Adam Cole, which is completely unnecessary. So that's something I really don't want to see. I'm not a fan of MJF losing on television, so I would like to see him win next week. I don't have an issue with them letting it play out just a little bit more instead of just throwing it right out there. But MJF wrestles so rarely on television. I like the fact that he's actually going to work a match, but I don't want to see him lose in a non-title match. I hate that. I don't want to see the world champion beaten in a non-title match on television if that could be avoided. Even if it does lead to a title match, which it should, I'd rather see MJF go over in that match. So that's the question. Which scenario is going to play out next week? It's one or the other. I think MJF wins, and they put the match off for a little bit. What he does then at Forbidden Door, though, I don't know. Maybe he does end up wrestling Tanahashi, which is what I thought MJF would be doing. Maybe they will do MJF and Hiroshi Tanahashi, and they will put the Cole match off for a few more months. But that was my issue with the promo here, in this segment. The WWE references, it's kind of old hat at this point in AEW. They love referring to people's pasts. Adam Cole has a past in WWE. I get it. But the whole issue of the physique, it's a touchy subject when it comes to Adam Cole. And I just don't know that you want to be making that the focal point of this feud. So then after this, it was the FTW champion Hook and Jungle Boy Jack Perry against Preston Vance and Dralistico. And this was a Texas Tornado tag team match. All men in the ring at the same time. This was a lot crazier than I expected this match to be, especially when you consider the fact that this issue was really only set up, a week ago. I mean, Jungle Boy certainly, up until a week or two ago, he was involved with the Pillars, right, going into Double or Nothing. This whole issue here was basically manufactured last week. They went out there and had the kind of match that you would blow off a long feud with blood and the whole 9 yards. Vance and Dralistico, they attacked Jungle Boy on the ramp as Jungle Boy was making his entrance. And at that point, it was just pure mayhem. Vance tried to charge at Hook at ringside with a chain, but Hook low-bridged him, and they ended up brawling into the crowd. Hey, Bobby's World, thank you for the gifted membership. I appreciate that. Hook jumped off the barricade, and he popped Vance with a chain shot. Chain was wrapped around his fist. And he popped him with a chain shot, and it busted him open pretty badly. I don't know if he bladed or not. If he bladed, he hit a fucking artery. I mean, this guy was bleeding all over the place. So they had 2 tables set up on the floor outside the ring on the other side. Hook fought off a double chokeslam attempt. They were going to put Hook through both tables. He fought them off. And he hit an overhead throw on Dralistico on the floor. And Dralistico nearly landed on his head. Like, just barely avoided being spiked on top of his head. Vance took down Hook with a discus lariat. Then he wrapped the chain around Hook's neck and went to the apron. And it looked like he was going to put him through the tables. Jungle Boy flew in out of nowhere with a chair shot to the head to Vance. Hook then grabbed Vance, hit a T-bone suplex off the apron down through one of the tables. He missed the other one. But they both took a hell of a bump, both men, through the other table on the floor. Jungle Boy spiked Dralistico with a DDT in the ring. There's the DDT again. Jose, the assistant, made the save. He took his shirt off. He hulked up, only to get choked out by Red Rum. Jungle Boy sank in the snare trap on Dralistico, and Jungle Hook get the double tap out for the win here. This was wild. I'm not sure that this really needed to be a Texas Tornado match, but it did make the match more fun, so there you go. Vance, though, he was bleeding pretty badly by the end of this thing. So then we go to the back, where our trusty president is, the AEW president himself, Tony Khan. is standing backstage looking like somebody was off camera aiming a gun at his head. This looked like a hostage video. This was to announce the main event for the debut episode of AEW Collision, which is coming up not this Saturday, but next Saturday. It's already here, June 17th. They're going to be at the United Center in Chicago. And the main event of that very first episode of Collision will be a 6-man tag team match, or as AEW would call it, a trios match. It will be Switchblade Jay White, which gave away the finish of the main event tonight, because you're not going to announce Jay White wrestling CM Punk on Collision next weekend. He's going to fucking lose tonight. So that gave away the finish. But Switchblade Jay White, Juice Robinson, and Samoa Joe are going to be taking on the AEW World Tag Team Champions FTR and CM Punk. CMFTR. No reaction. No real reaction to the announcement. Now, we already knew Punk was going to be on the show. It wasn't like it was a surprise, but he took a pause before he said CM Punk's name. Like he was really building it up dramatically, and he said CM Punk, and there was no reaction. Or barely a reaction in the building here in Colorado. So that's, look, as a match, that sounds like a hell of a match. I like the match, right? That's a lot of different names in that match. You're getting Jay White, Samoa Joe, and CM Punk all in the same match. So not only is it a great match, but now they can spin this match off into a program with Punk and FTR and Bullet Club Gold. Where Joe falls in that equation, I don't know. I'm sure Punk and Joe is going to be inevitable. But they can spin this off into Punk and FTR against Bullet Club Gold, if that's the direction they want to go in, which I think it should be. I think that would be a great program for them to do. So anyway, that is going to be the main event on June 17th. Konosuke Takeshita was out to the ring next. There was no music for him or Don Callis. Konosuke just came down to the ring for a match with Damon Ace. Ace got off one strike, and Takeshita leveled him and then followed that with a running knee strike for the quick win. As the match was going on, which was not for very long, they had a video on the big screen of Don Callis turning on Kenny Omega. It was on a loop in the background as the match went on. Callis got in the ring. He took the microphone. He said that unlike last week, I will be heard this week. And they showered this man with booze, as they did the week before. Takeshita took the microphone from him and spoke Japanese briefly. Callis took the microphone back. He said, everything that Kenny Omega has had in his life is because of him. Omega defeated Will Ospreay because of him. And Omega has become a cancer in Callis's body, so he cut it out. Callis said that Callis and his family, he said, will cut the elite out of AEW for good. That's what he said. What do you do with cancer? He said, you cut it out. So he's going to cut the elite out from AEW. And then we got the mic drop. So pretty much a carbon copy of his promo from last week. Only it was a little bit shorter. Hey, Road Warrior Roderick, thank you with the 1992 Ric Flair Super Chat. Thank you very much. Again, I'm going to be reading your Super Chats a little bit later. So if you want to check out the new donation amounts, they are always listed below in the description. I have to mention this though. So again, carbon copy promo, great heat, but nothing that we didn't hear from him last week. But at the end of the segment, in the background was a sign. This was the sign of the night here on the show. There was a sign in the crowd that said, Don Callis eats hot dogs without chewing. There you go. There you go. They said it. It must be true. If they said it, look, if somebody in the crowd said it, it has to be true. Alex Marvez was backstage. He was outside Christian Cage's locker room, and we could hear a commotion inside like there was a fight going on. Cage opens the door. He comes outside. He said that he was the uncrowned TNT champion. He blamed Arn Anderson for why he did not win his match at Double or Nothing. Luchasaurus then emerged from the dressing room, and Cage said that Brock Anderson got his father a great gift for Father's Day, and then they walked away. And Alex Marvez pushed his way into the locker room, and he saw Brock Anderson, Arn's son, laying on the ground. He had a little bit of blood on his head. And, of course, Alex Marvez does the overreaction. We need help. We need medics. This man was on death's door. He'll be okay. Put a Band-Aid on it. He'll be okay. We had Kris Statlander one-on-one with Anna Jay, who had Matt Menard in her corner. I know this because you hear his voice. It's unmistakable. He was louder than the people in the crowd during this match. He's got that piercing voice, that very annoying, piercing, perfect for a fucking heel. Matt Menard's voice is perfect for the annoying heel character. This was for the TBS Championship. For the second week, Taya Valkyrie was shown in the back watching one of Statlander's matches on a screen. Statlander went to the top. She got distracted by Menard to allow Anna Jay to plant Statlander for a near fall. Anna sank in the Queenslayer sleeper a little bit later on, but Statlander powered up. She put Anna down, hit a backbreaker and a tombstone pile driver for the win. They cut to the back again. They showed Taya watching, and she was very upset by this. She looks like she's going heel. But she was very upset by Statlander's win. Well, you know what? I guess the story could be that she feels upstaged. You know, she went in there at Double or Nothing and lost to Jade Cargill. Then out comes Kris Statlander. She instantly gets a championship match and wins. And so she could feel like, you know, she's showing her up. You know, maybe that's the story. The match was fine. A lot of it was eaten up by the picture-in-picture. So it's like I can't even really comment on it because the majority of it I didn't really see. But it was another win for Statlander. She's starting to put together wins here. She just won the title. So, you know, she's a fighting champion. Jade, we didn't see Jade on television defending that title very often. Or usually it was on Rampage. Very rarely was it on Dynamite. So far with Statlander, she's already had, I think, 2 title defenses on TV since winning it. And she's going to be a fighting champion going forward. So this was fine. That led into our main event, which was Switchblade Jay White, one-on-one with Ricky Starks, Juice Robinson banned. FTR banned. Very happy to see Ricky and Jay get the main event spot here on this show. There was another sign in the crowd. I don't know if it was the same person who held up the Don Callis sign, but there was another sign in the crowd here that said, Jay White eats corn the long way. I don't know what was going on with this crowd here in Colorado tonight. I'm sensing a pattern here. So Starks sprinted up the ramp. He came out first. As Jay White is coming out, he sprints up the ramp to cut him off in mid-entrance, and that's how we got started here. So fast forwarding a little bit, we have the final ad break of the show. We come back. Jay White is just lighting up Ricky with chops to the chest. You look at his chest. He was lighting this guy up. Ricky, it woke him up, basically, and Ricky fired off some strikes of his own. White crotched Ricky trying a tornado DDT on the ropes. Jay White hit a big superplex, and then he signaled for Blade Runner. Starks avoided it and hit a tornado DDT. Ricky tried for the Rochambeau. Jay White countered into a Uranage. Starks floated over a suplex and hit a spear, and then on his second attempt at the Rochambeau, referee Paul Turner got bumped. And I'm being very generous when I say this. He got clipped, barely. And he bumped anyway. This looked silly. That's when Austin and Colton Gunn showed up. And they got into the ring and they laid out Ricky Starks with their 310 to Yuma finish. Referee, of course, did not see any of this. Paul Turner comes to. Jay White hits Blade Runner. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. After the match, Juice Robinson, all smiles. He walks down to the ring to celebrate with Jay White. On commentary, the announcers were assuming that the Guns interfered because they have a history with FTR, who are now feuding with Bullet Club Gold, but they didn't sound overly sure about this. This is just what they were assuming. Not the strongest main event. They had a good match. But with a very underwhelming finish. You know, the ref bump was just, it looked ridiculous. And here, you know, I was expecting a third Bullet Club member to show up to interfere and to help Jay White win the match. And instead it was possibly the third and fourth members. We don't know for sure if Austin and Colton Gunn are now officially members of Bullet Club Gold. This could be like a DX in 98 thing when the New Age Outlaws, who were, you know, they were starting to get over. They were a lot more over than Austin and Colton Gunn. I'm not saying that they're, you know, as over as they were. But you had a faction, and then they added the Outlaws to it, and it changed the whole dynamic of DX, right? The whole thing just gelled, and it was, you know, very entertaining to watch. obviously there's a slight connection here because the Guns, right, their father was Billy Gunn, and Billy Gunn was part of the New Age Outlaws. So I don't know if that's what's going on here, and they're going to add the Guns, and now we're going to have 4 members of Bullet Club Gold. I don't know. We're going to have to just wait and see. The crowd certainly it added to the confusion, I think, because they weren't sure exactly why they were there and what was going on here. Generally speaking, though, I mean, this was the finish that I expected. I expected that there would be interference from someone other than Juice Robinson. They were going to do it to protect Ricky Starks, but Ricky was going to lose. Jay White should have won this match. The minute they announced Jay White for that Collision main event on the 17th, you knew he was winning this match. There was no way he should not lose this match. So they did that to protect Ricky, which I can respect. Because I think Ricky is one of the talents that should be protected as much as possible. Not bad, by the way, for Jay White. Headlining Dynamite. Now he's going to headline the first Collision at the United Center against CM Punk. So I'm glad finally now coming out of Double or Nothing that, you know, they're doing something meaningful with him. They're giving him some prime time on television. I hope that continues. Jay White should be one of the top 5 stars in the entire company. Easily. Maybe top 3. That's how he should be positioned. Top 5 for sure. So, not a bad place for him to be in. I thought overall it was a pretty good show tonight, despite the lackluster finish. You know, we had a very good opener with Orange Cassidy and Swerve Strickland, even if I thought the finish was questionable. The MJF Adam Cole segment, you know, again, there were some good zingers in there. I outlined what my issue with the segment was. It wasn't a bad segment, but, you know, again, we have issues. We lay out what the issues are. And I stated my case there. But we had some good matches on the show. Again, a good match in the main event, but an underwhelming finish. But on the whole, I thought it was a pretty good episode of Dynamite. Now, Rampage coming up on Friday has the Lucha Bros and Bandito against Ethan Page, Big Bill, and Lee Moriarty. We got to get Big Bill into something different here. I feel like the guy's spinning his wheels. We got to get him out of this. We got to get him involved in something else. Powerhouse Hobbs is going to be in action. We have the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn taking on Serpentico, Luther, and Angelico. So we get to see Dr. Luther on Rampage on Friday. Very good. Britt Baker, Sky Blue, Mercedes Martinez, and Nyla Rose. 4-way. The winner gets an AEW Women's World Championship match with Toni Storm on Dynamite next Wednesday. And speaking of which, Dynamite is back where it all began in DC next week. And it's a pretty stacked lineup. We have MJF, Adam Cole in an eliminator match, non-title. Toni Storm is going to defend the AEW Women's Championship. I presume, you know, looking at the 4-way, I presume it'll be Britt Baker. I mean, I don't see any other. I mean, look, Sky Blue, Toni Storm and Sky. I mean, I guess you could talk about no drama. You're not gonna do Sky Blue. Mercedes Martinez is a Ring of Honor talent. Nyla Rose, no. We already saw Nyla Rose last week against Kris Statlander, right? She lost. No. So Britt Baker should win that match. Also on Dynamite next week, the Mogul Embassy is Swerve Strickland, Brian Cage, and the Gates of Agony take on Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, Sting, and Keith Lee. And the Young Bucks and Hangman Adam Page take on Jon Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta of the Blackpool Combat Club. And I would suspect that next week is probably going to be the night that we see the return of Kenny Omega, would be my guess. And as far as other matches at Forbidden Door, you know, they have a few weeks, but not that far away. So they're going to have to amp up the build to Forbidden Door, even though I'm totally fine with the 2 matches they already announced. They have a whole card to put together, so we will find out next week probably what some of the other matches are going to be on the pay-per-view. On the Twitter poll, that is not indicative of what I thought of the show tonight. But thank you, Bobby, with the $5 Disappointed Solomonster Super Chat. I was not disappointed. I was not disappointed in the show tonight. 77% of you were not disappointed in the show tonight. 23% of you were disappointed in that show. So go vote on Twitter at Solomonster. Let your voice be heard. Want to hear from you guys. Always love hearing from you guys. Always. Let us go through your super chats. Thank you to everybody who has dropped one here. By the way, the likes goal tonight was 350, modest goal, and we have smashed the goal. So we will be doing Be the Booker here in a little bit. Groovy Goose with a $5 super chat says, do you think that we will see a third act of the MJF Punk feud, or is it out of the question? I would like to see MJF get the win over Punk to cap it off. Yeah, I mean, I have no issue with him getting a win over Punk as long as Punk doesn't beat him. I don't think we get that chapter for a long time. It's going to be a while. When that time comes, it should be MJF going over on Punk, and that's it. CM Punk should not be the AEW World Champion. Tried that twice. 2 times they got burned. Punk doesn't need it. Naughty Delicious, or NDC, as I'm going to start calling it. Rest in peace, Iron Sheik. Dr. Scorpio. Tony Khan sounded like he was being held hostage and forced to read the announcement. He barely blinked. Props to him. Jeremy Watley. In your opinion, was Ryback done dirty by WWE? I think the booking of Ryback in 2012, with the booking late that year, yes. He was done dirty by the booking. But I would not say that, you know, later on in his run, let's say that the star had burned out, shall we say. So it's not as if when he finished up with the company, oh my God, you know, I can't believe they got rid of Ryback. Ryback got screwed over booking-wise years before they let him go. Because he was hot there for a period of time. He was pretty white hot, in fact, for a certain period of time there, and had not been beaten, and then he was beaten, and then he was beaten again and again and again. And then I remember WrestleMania when Mark Henry fell on top of him, and he was beaten. And that is when I knew that there was no coming back for Ryback. Even though he went into a feud with John Cena, after that he was done. His goose was cooked. Crash with a $10 super chat. What is up, Solomonster? Been in the hospital since Monday. Ooh, that's not good. The promo segment with MJF and Adam Cole was good. I do have one question. Where were you during the 2003 Northeast Blackout? Where was I during the Northeast Blackout? I was... I want to say I was in the city. I wasn't at work, but I might have been in the city. I was definitely in the city for one of the big blackouts. Maybe it was that one. I know where I was when the lights came back on. If that's the one I'm thinking about, I was at Shea. I guess it still would have been Shea Stadium at that point for a Mets game, I believe. When the lights came back on, I remember the traffic lights were out, so that was kind of rough getting to the ballpark. But then the lights suddenly came back on. So I think I was in the city and I had to navigate my way home. Yeah, that was pretty crazy. That was pretty crazy. Nick Rosso. Just wanted to say rest in peace, Iron Sheik, and I thought the promo battle between MJF and Adam Cole was amazing. Christopher Smith, $4.99. I just watched the Iron Sheik documentary on A&E this past Sunday, and then I found out that he had passed away. Rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. Yeah, that was kind of eerie timing on that. Rizzo. Even here in Metro Detroit, it is hazy. Obviously not as bad as it is in your neck of the woods. Stay safe, all of New York friends. Yeah, hopefully with the winds, it should be out of here by Saturday. They say tomorrow is probably going to be even worse than today. So, I'll be staying indoors tomorrow. Even indoors, though, with the windows closed and everything. Again, I said it smells like a fucking cigar lounge in here. It's terrible. Chris AXC, why do you think Vince treated Goldberg so much better than Sting in WWE? So many missed opportunities with Sting. What are your thoughts? Sting was a lot older when he came in than Goldberg was when he came to WWE. So I think that played a role. I think Sting waited too long. I think if Sting came in years earlier, I know he was very hesitant to come in and fuck, I mean, who could blame him? But I honestly think that if Sting had come in at least 10 years, 10 to 12 years before he did, he would have been pushed the way that people expected him to be pushed. So by the time he came in, it was too late. I just don't think that they saw him. You know, they wanted to get him in. They wanted to make money off of him and the merch and everything. And they put him in some big matches, but it wasn't like they were going to really build anything around him. When Goldberg came in, they put the World Heavyweight title on him after a few months. They were never going to do that with Sting. You know, he got a championship match, but it was to put over Seth Rollins. So I just think he waited too long. The Mount Vernon kid, Christopher Bennett, is a fellow New Yorker like yourself. Were you good on your end? Yeah, I mean, again, it's just I'm watching it play out like everybody else, and it's just weird. It just looks like a scene out of Total Recall outside during the day. Sean Longworth, with all of these Mount Rushmore talks, who is your Mount Rushmore? Another Mount Rushmore. Mount Rushmore for mid-carders. Sheamus, Miz, to quote The New Day, who? Love the podcast. Yeah, I can't answer that question in 10 seconds. It's impossible. I mean, think of all the mid-carders there have been in WWE. There were some great mid-card talents even back when I was growing up, back in the Golden Era, you know, and in the Attitude Era, everybody was over. Everybody was over. Even the mid-carders in the Attitude Era were like big stars. They were a hell of a lot more over than the mid-card talents are today. So how do you not include probably someone or some people from the Attitude Era, you know, in the late 90s? Sheamus has been around for 15 years, probably. Miz has been around. I mean, they've had more longevity than most. Dolph Ziggler, how long has he been around for? Does that make them the best, though? Does that make them the best? Does Sheamus belong in the mid-card Mount Rushmore when he has been world champion before? Are we including, you know, people like that who have gone on to become world champion? There's a lot of questions that I would have about that, but honestly, I can't give you a straight answer without really thinking it over. You know, yeah, RVD was never a world. Well, I guess he was actually one night stand. It was so brief, I forgot that he did win the WWE title. That's true. RVD did win the title. Jeff Hardy was a world champion. Oh, man. Mr. Perfect never did. Mr. Perfect never did. See, I think of someone like Kurt Hennig, who worked with main event talents, but was he a main eventer? How many main events did Mr. Perfect get? Right? I don't know. I look at Mr. Perfect more as like an upper mid-carder. I look at Razor Ramon as an upper mid-carder. Worked with main eventers, but they never really were in the main event consistently. How do you leave those guys out? How do you leave Mr. Perfect and Razor Ramon out of a Mount Rushmore of mid-carders, right? So I don't know. It's a tough question to answer. Rodimus Prime, enjoyable show all the way around, but Adam Cole against MJF, I'm here for it. Let's go. Yeah, the match is going to be great. The Mount Vernon kid says, quick thoughts on Braun Breaker calling out Seth Rollins to defend his title against him. I will be talking about NXT on the podcast on Sunday. My question there is it going to happen in NXT, or are we going to get Seth Rollins saying, no, you want a shot at my championship, you come to Raw? And they use that as a way to call up Braun to the main roster. We'll talk more about that on the NXT review on Sunday. Paul Carpenter, $5 super chat. Just curious, how does it feel to be in a wrestling organization as someone that grew up a fan, and what type of music do you use for entrances? My entrance is Tooth and Nail by Foreigner. That's my entrance theme. And it's very cool. it's very cool to be around, the younger talent who I know in some cases we're going to be seeing on television at some point, and you just see how hungry they are, and you see and have conversations with them about creative ideas, and they come over to you and say, hey, I got this idea, I want to run it by you, what do you think? And being able to give feedback and then seeing it actually applied on the show, I mean, that kind of stuff is priceless. And to be able to do commentary as well is that was always something I wanted to try my hand at. And it's just a very cool experience to be even a small part of something like that. So very cool. Turtlehead, only the master should win with a signature move. Okay. Josiah, thank you for the super chat. Daniel Cabeza, please tell us the most memorable Jake the Snake promo in your opinion. Oh, just one? Just one? That's tough. I always think of the Muck of Avarice promo from WrestleMania 6. That one is, if not his best, it is one of his best. That was before his match with Ted DiBiase. So the Muck of Avarice promo is one. I always remember the post-match promo from this Tuesday in Texas after the angle. He lost to Randy Savage and then he smacked Elizabeth, and it was this whole big angle. And he's in the back with Mean Gene. And he's talking about how much it turned him on. He's telling Randy, please bring her back. Let me touch her one more time. I could cultivate her. And Mean Gene is so disgusted by what he's hearing that he'll have no more of this. He calls an end to the segment, and you're a sicko, and get out of here. That to me is the other memorable Jake the Snake promo. You could every promo of his, you could probably go back in the vault, and every promo of his was great. Joseph Brooks with the $9.99. I've been a wrestling fan literally since I was 3 years old, and some of my memory is vivid and off because of how young I was, but who was this guy by the name of Gary Albright? Gary Albright was never in like a major promotion like WWE, but he passed away. When did he passed away many years ago? I don't remember exactly when or what the circumstances were. What is the connection with Gary Albright and Alpha? Wasn't there a connection there between them? I don't remember offhand. So I don't have a lot to say about Gary Albright other than the fact that he was never in WWE. He was never like a major star. But for some reason, I think there's a connection there with Alpha of the Wild Samoans. Bobby's World with the $50 super chat drop from earlier. Bobby, again, man, thank you. So, I already read his super chat, but there you go. Rest in peace to the Iron Sheik. Much love to Fire Panda. And it is his birthday again. Happy birthday to Bobby. As Brock Lesnar would say, Bobby! Bobby's birthday. Oh, he died. That's right. Did he die? Okay, yeah. He died in the ring. That's right. But again, was there a connection to Alpha? Or is that, am I thinking of someone else? Maybe he was trained by Alpha. I don't remember. But yes, he died. He died in 2000, so it was many years ago. Jobbed Out Wrestling. Most important thing I learned this week is that Jose the Assistant has a better body than Jungle Boy. And Adam Cole as well. Road Warrior Roderick with the 1992. Oh, there you go. Okay, Glenn says he married into the Anoa'i family. See, I knew there was an Anoa'i. I knew there was some kind of connection there. I just couldn't remember exactly what it was. But Road Warrior Roderick, after AEW's worst pay-per-view in company history to building to one of their best. So excited for Forbidden Door, but damn mascot Pockets wins again. How can Tony Khan get it so wrong? Where is Miro when you need him? Well, Miro is going to be part of the Collision roster. Did you not see him in the commercials tonight? They had multiple commercials for Collision, and they filmed these segments in studio with Hobbs, with Miro, with Thunder Rosa. So he'll probably be on that first show on June 17th, I would imagine. So if you want Miro, you won't have to wait very long. He should be on the show next weekend. Bobby's World, my birthday just kind of came and went, but closing it out with you and the chat is always a good way to go. Absolutely. Absolutely. And Wano Campo, F the Hulk Hogan, that jabroni, rest in peace, Sheiky baby. Juan knows the score, man. I can't wait for Hulk Hogan to come out and tell us that, this great tale of how he bumped into the Iron Sheik at the doctor's office, and the Iron Sheik made amends with him and apologized for all the times he told Hogan to go fuck himself. And he's so happy he had the chance to bury the hatchet with the Iron Sheik. I'm sure that story is coming very soon. Anyway, the goal tonight has been met. And on that note, we got M. Mills. Hold on a second here. M. Mills coming in with 5 gifted channel memberships. TJ Johnson, Pat Crow, Justin Kong Lang, Justin S., and Reverend Brandon War are now brand new channel members thanks to M. Mills. Thank you for the gifted memberships. Very kind of you. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
Oh, it is time. Time, that time again. Time to be the booker. Always love being the booker, even though sometimes some of these matches, not so good. So let's have a good night here. Let's do it the right way. Let's kick things off with, we're getting things kicked off the right way, all right. The American Dragon, as they're calling him now, the greatest wrestler of all time, Bryan Danielson. That is how you kick off Be the Booker. That is how you do it. Now we just got to get Okada here. I think Okada's in here. I'm not sure if he's in here. I believe he is. Bryan Danielson going to go one-on-one. It almost doesn't even matter, honestly. Hey, Stadium J, thank you for the $2. With the disgusted Brandy Rhodes. In memory of Sheiky Baby, he says F Hulk Hogan. Bryan Danielson one-on-one with Kenny Omega. Oh my goodness. It's a rematch from Grand Slam at Arthur Ashe Stadium. Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson, 2 of the 4 participants, by the way, in that double main event that we just talked about coming up at Forbidden Door. That's a fucking win right there if I ever saw one here in Be the Booker. That's one of the best Be the Booker matches I ever booked. We could quit right now. But that would be a cop-out, so we have to go on. We must continue. On the ladies' side, we have B-Fab. Brianna Brandy, B-Fab from Hit Row, who's having quite the run for themselves on SmackDown right now. B-Fab is going to go one-on-one with Michin. Actually, wasn't that something we saw on SmackDown the other week? Not a match with them, but I think they were involved in a segment together. Yeah, I'm not booking that on my show. I mean, I like Mia Yim, but come on. I like B-Fab, too. I think B-Fab is fine, but in the ring is a different story. All right, let's go to the tag team match here. I knew I was getting in over my head continuing. I should have quit when I was ahead, man. How do you top Danielson and Omega? You just can't do it. All right, well, we kick things off here with the hardcore duo of Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. This was back during his Chainsaw Charlie phase. Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. Their opponents will be Doom, Ron Simmons, and the Natural Butch Reed. That would be a hard-hitting match there. Doom against Cactus Jack and Terry Funk. I like that match. Look at Teddy Long in the middle. Teddy Long has played many roles over the years. Teddy Long has been a manager. Teddy Long has been a referee. And Teddy Long has been a GM. Teddy Long has booked many a match. He's booked many people to go one-on-one with The Undertaker in his day. Teddy Long also had an issue. He had a beef with me many years ago, but we got that squashed. So he and I, we're all good now. We're all good now. So we went 2 for 3 in Be the Booker. That sounds good to me. That's better than we did this time last week, I feel like. Anyway, I think I'm all caught up on your super. I know it's 1 week of Be the Booker for June so far has been pretty good. Whether or not that's going to continue, I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Anyway, that is your Dynamite review for tonight. Now, Friday, we have SmackDown, and we have Jey Uso, who's going to make what Paul Heyman said would be a historic decision. He's going to have to make a decision on where he stands in the bloodline. Is he with Roman Reigns, or is he with his brother Jimmy? So that is the next big bloodline drama that they are building up for SmackDown. We have 4, by the way. We have 4 Money in the Bank qualifying matches coming up. Actually, I think Mi Chin is in one of those matches. I don't remember offhand who she's wrestling. I know Shotzi is in another match. I know that Baron Corbin is wrestling Butch. And I know that Santos Escobar is going to be in a Money in the Bank match as well. Again, I don't have them in front of me. So that'll be SmackDown on Friday night. Hopefully you guys will be right back here with me again, and we'll cover that just like we covered Dynamite here tonight. And then coming up on Sunday will be episode 812 of The Sound Off. And among other things, I will be giving you my thoughts on the latest Dark Side of the Ring episode on Magnum TA. Just watched the episode today. Thought it was good, so we'll talk about that. If you missed it, my Dark Side of the Ring review on Kris and Tammy, Chris Candido and Tammy Sitch, I have since posted the clip up on YouTube. It's about 20 minutes long, so you can go and check out Sound Off Gamer. You can check out Dark Side of the Ring. There's a lot of different clips, a lot of different content for you, plus the live streams here on the channel. All good stuff. Be well. Stay safe. Thank you again. Hey, Cherubin, happy birthday. And I will be back with you on Friday for the SmackDown stream. So until then, take care, guys. Yep, flight's already booked. All the accommodations are taken care of. I'm looking forward to it too. I gotta go, but I will see you in a few weeks. All right, great. Greetings, Commissioner. You know my demands. It seems my money couldn't convince you, but maybe this can. Here's a gift from Carlos Ramirez and I. If you don't give me what I want, this won't be the last. Yours truly, Charles Mason.